Hi, I'm Juanita and welcome back to the Knit Guru. What are we doing today? We are throwing all semblance of common sense and planning out the window, and we're going to knit in red for what is one of the many times this year. Now, recently, not that long ago, I picked up this wool here. This is Pure Wool Premium Yarn. It says it's a 3-ply, but it's more like a DK weight. This is New Zealand wool, and I think I picked it up from Uncle Bill's. And why did I buy this wool? I think it was because they had it. They didn't have a range of colours, they had the red. But I picked up 3 balls of it nonetheless, because you don't look a yarn horse in the mouth, I've learnt. Now I've realised why I've picked it up. Because I jumped on Ravelry. And what is the most popular project on Ravelry at the moment? It is the Melt the Ice hat, and I will put that in over here. I'll read you why I purchased this pattern and why I think you'll see. In the 1940s, Norwegians made and wore red-pointed hats with a tassel as a form of visual protest against Nazi occupation of their country. Within 2 years, the Nazis made these protest hats illegal and punishable by law to wear, make, or distribute. As purveyors of traditional craft, we felt it appropriate to revisit this design. The sample shown was knit in Blue Knits Fibres Skyland in the DK version. All proceeds from the sales of this pattern go to the Lynn Lake community of businesses who will distribute the funds to those impacted by the actions of ICE. Now, I am not going to pretend in any semblance of anything that I have any concept of what's going on in America today. However, I can see the news, and the news is scary. Yeah. And I hear things, and it's a terrifying place out there. So when I jumped on Ravelry and I saw this project was sitting there, and that the proceeds are going towards helping people in a time of great need where people are obviously struggling in a world that makes no sense whatsoever, harking back to an earlier time where protesting became more and more difficult as well. That's why I'm jumping on. It's a somber idea, I know. I will link the pattern down below in case anyone else wants to make one as well. I'm not sure how many times you'll hear me speak in this video. Mostly it's just going to be the process of me making this. But as somebody who spent 20 years in the classroom teaching history and government and politics and social welfare, social change, revolutionary leadership, the rise and fall of various regimes and dictators and honourable men and women. I know that we're living through history at the moment. I'm just hoping that we come out the right side of it and that humanity prevails. So in the meantime, please enjoy this project as I cast on and work on the Melt the Ice cap. And I will see you at the end of the project and we'll look at the final hat. Right, this is the Melt the Ice Cap. This is not my pattern, so I'm not going to give you any details about the actual number of stitches or rows or anything like that. Buy the pattern on Ravelry because it is for a really good cause. But I have had a number of questions on my channel about the setup and how this top decrease works. So what we've got in the pattern is we've got 4 stitch markers in the round, and we are doing decreases at only 2 of them. So my first stitch marker is this different one here, and then I've got different coloured ones on the second and the 4th stitch marker. When we get to this section, what we're going to do is we're going to create some leaning stitches. So on this first side here, when we are 4 stitches before the stitch marker here, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, so I need to knit 1 more. Then what I'm going to do is I am going to knit 2 together. That's going to cause our stitches to lean in this direction. We're going to knit 2. We're going to slip our stitch marker across so that we don't lose our place. We're going to knit 2 more. And on this side, we're making the stitches decrease in the opposite direction, so with an opposite slant. So what we do here is we slip, so we slip 2 stitches without knitting them, slide your needle in the other side, yarn around, pull through. And what we've got here is we've got a decrease on this side, a decrease on this side. On our 3rd stitch marker, no decreases at all. 4th stitch marker decreases like this, and the first one at the start of the row, no decreases. So these decreases are every single row, which makes quite a sharp point on the top of the hat. I hope that helps. Go check out the Melt the Ice Cap on Ravelry if you want to buy your own pattern. Alright, it's time to either start using some double pointed needles, or I'm going to use my preferred method of just putting half of it on a different circular and just going from, I'm just going to slide my needle in through between marker 2 and marker 4, and then I just have to decrease on each end, and that should speed things up, I think. Yeah, we'll see how we go. The next thing I've sort of finished, and I'm claiming it is finished even though it's clearly not quite finished because it was finished this morning, is the Melt the Ice Cap. Now I made the Melt the Ice Cap following all the instructions. It's got the point, and this is made with DK yarn and the 4mm needles as instructed in the pattern. This is why my hair is like this. This is fine. I've got a small head. It's a small size adult head, but I put this on this morning and I thought it's really just a bit small for me, because I think you're supposed to have that folded up. I feel like it's pulled quite tight. I don't have an overly tight tension, but I feel like it would be a better hat made with the 4.5mm needles. And you see it sits quite high. I mean, it could be if I was one of those trendy hipsters, I could wear it like this. But I'm not trendy or a hipster, but I now currently have trendy hipster hair, so, you know, I could do this if I wanted to be that guy. However, it was mostly because I wanted to buy the pattern, support the cause, and make the hat. I am going to make myself another one with the following changes, and that is to put I'm going to make a video on this anyway. I might put this part of the video in that video, is that I feel like if the decreases happened every second row, this isn't going to be such a sharp point. It's going to be more up like this, and that's going to give me a bit more headspace. And if I size up to a 4.5 millimeter needle, and with that extra length, I think it's going to fit me better because the width around my head is good. If you are a larger headed person, as my partner is and as other people definitely are, and I used to be when I had a lot more hair, but I've destroyed it from dyeing it so many times, and now I don't have the thick luscious hair I used to have. I think then what it's worth doing is just using the cast on number of stitches for the next number up, because this was 108 stitches. Yeah, you can definitely size up for I think the next one up's around the 130 mark, but I'm just doing some mental mathematics. If you had 120 stitches, this hat would work and just be bigger. And maybe just add a few more rows of the ribbing. But what I would say is buy the pattern, raise money for a good cause, watch my video on making the hat. Yeah, so I made the hat, and I did make a wee video short tutorial of the decreases because a lot of people were asking me how that worked, and it took me a while of reading it because the pattern itself is only one page when you buy it, as is quite common for vintage patterns, and this was a vintage idea from the 1940s that's then been translated into English and remade, basically. So there are sparse instructions. It's not a problem, it's just there's sparse instructions. This is not finished because clearly I haven't darned in my ends, and I need a tassel off the top, but all I have done is literally this morning just finish the top of the hat. So it is done, but it's not done, if that makes sense. So the melt the ice cap. I just attempted to film a whole stack of things making this twisted tassel, showing you how to do it, and stitching it on the top and darning in my ends, and I have just deleted all that footage, but that is 100% fine. This is just a craft project. Okay, so we're in the heat of summer here in New Zealand, and this is my melt the ice cap. I have followed the instructions to the T. I haven't gone off book, even though I was tempted to go off book a few times. The world is crazy. So crazy. I mean, I'm going to include some footage of reviewing the cap in my Everything I Made in the Month of January video, in this video as well. So my apologies for those of you who stick around for both and you get the double up, but ask me if you want me to refilm the tassel making portion, because the tassel's cool. I've got the point. Does the point go up and down, or does the point go side to side? I'm not entirely sure, but I feel like I'm somewhere between early 2000s barista and Steve Zissou. Is that the movie with the guy with the red hat? I do need a larger size. So I said in that other video that when I remake this, because I will remake it, what I'm going to do is size up my needle to be a 4.5 millimeter needle, and I'm going to add a few extra rows in to give it a bit more depth. I have followed the instructions correctly for the point. It's very tempting to, with my next one, instead of decreasing every row, to decrease every second row, so it's not such a sharp point. Yeah, but I don't think I'm the only person to say that this hat is just a bit small for me in this size. But I can make the larger size one, or I can size up my number of stitches. I would recommend, if you are making this hat for yourself and you're just using the pattern, size up from 108 stitches in the cast on to the next number up. At least 120 is going to be my best guess. And if I put this on my head, even sideways like this, you can get an idea of how much more depth you might want to get some coverage of your head. Either way, I am yet again blown away and amazed at how the crafting community jumps on board whenever somebody comes up with something that is a really cool idea. I'm very glad that I jumped on board and made this hat. I'm very pleased to be part of the fundraising. I am going to make more of them. I'm tempted to size this pattern down to make one for my bear. That shouldn't be too difficult, and at least with that I'll be able to use up the last of this ball of yarn, so that's a bonus. This is using, I ended up using 1.5 balls of this yarn, and I do feel like if I had sized up the number of stitches or changed up this bit here, it would have used 2 50-gram balls. So 100 grams of yarn should be plenty to make the biggest number of cast-ons of the pattern. I will link the pattern down below. I do recommend that everybody jumps on board. Am I going to wear this one? Not as is, but I can give it to somebody with a smaller head than mine, and I can just keep it and make another one. I have no regrets over buying the pattern and no regrets over making the project. I recommend you all jump in as well and have a go. In the meantime, I'm wishing you all peace, and I'm hoping that the world is treating you kindly and that we start seeing things that are better this year rather than things that are more and more concerning as the world goes on. In the meantime, I will see you for more knitting frivolity next week.